welcome to our first live stream. So we're going to be live streaming each Tuesday class through the rest of the semester. So it's going to be an opportunity for those of you who are watching on LinkedIn or YouTube or any of the other live streaming services to see what we're going to be learning during the semester. So actually, let me pull up my slide deck. And so the class is called Case Studies in Business Analytics, and that is super aptly named because we are going to be looking at real data sources, and the students have actually gotten their first taste of that in the first class. So let's walk through the agenda here. So we're kind of making this up as we go. I think this is going to be the loose agenda for the lectures moving forward. So we're going to start out with a lecture, and this is going to be more of like a traditional way that classes are taught. Then we're going to jump into a project overview. So this is where we're going to review some of the actual data sources that we're going to be taking a look at. So I've got, well, we're going to be looking at specifically feedback data from my Udemy courses today. But we also have AdSense data, we have sales data from our learning platform, and then marketing data. We just have a ton of real data to work with. And then the last segment is that we're going to be having one of the students come on and applying the concepts that I overviewed at the beginning of class. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And also I feel like I've been neglecting the chat. So let me see. Awesome. So thanks so much for showing up. So let's see. Man, we've got a bunch of comments already. So Raj, thank you so much for coming in. So Raj is a PhD student from UNCG. We've got our social media manager, Al, and then Dina. I hope I'm saying that right now. Is it Dina or Dina? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, so let's jump back over to these lectures. We're going to start off with this very, very broad question. So what is analytics? Here is the technical definition, and it's very, very wordy. So analytics is the systematic, computational, blah, 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 blah. I would not talk about analytics if you're talking about it in an interview setting or, even just socially. I would have a much more punchy definition. So the layman's definition is analytics is the use of data to improve decision-making. So going back, see if I can do that, to this technical slide. Oh, went too far. So this is throwing up way, way too much information all at once. So you want to start at the high level, and then if whoever you're talking to starts to ask questions, then you can start to get super technical. All right. So there are three broad steps of analytics, and it doesn't matter if you're looking at marketing data, sales data, supply chain data. There are three core steps that you need to pull off. So number one, you have to gather the data. Number two, you have to analyze the data. And number three, you need to use that analysis to make data-informed decisions. So let's touch on gathering data just quickly. So this involves creating and managing the data collection process. So if you are working, for example, a small retail store, they may automatically collect this data in a platform like Square or Clover. But on the other end of the spectrum, if you're looking at survey data, you may have to create the entire process from start to finish. Also, one thing that I would lump into the data gathering step is data modeling. So let's say that you're looking at sales data from your Stripe account, and then you want to tie that back to your survey data. You're going to have to create a data model and figure out how to combine those two. So your data model is, simply put, the blueprint of how your data sources are combined. Next, we have data analysis. And this is the process of uncovering insights within data. Data analysis exists on a technical spectrum. So from one end of the spectrum is Excel, and this is very, very simple. And this is actually what we're going to be jumping into later on in this live stream. So we're going to have one of the students come on and analyze my Udemy feedback data in Excel. And then on the super advanced end of the spectrum is coding. And coding is like learning a language. It takes years and years to get your head wrapped around syntax, when to use what specific libraries. This stuff is really, really complex. My goal with anyone who's watching this is for you to understand the basics of analytics and then have functional knowledge within Excel to be able to analyze large data sets. And then finally, we have data-informed decision-making. And this is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. So you're going to want to take that analysis and apply it to your actual decision-making process. So this may seem very simple, but there are a lot of things that cloud this whole process. So one can be just missing data or data quality issues. So the worst case scenario from an analytics perspective is that you have a corrupt data source. You then make a decision based on that, and it's the wrong decision. So you would be better off not even looking at the data you'd be better off actually not even looking at the data at all if it's so badly corrupt that you're going to come to the wrong conclusion. Also, data is not a crystal ball. So there's constantly shifting market forces. So for example, there could be a snowstorm that blows out the power. Actually, let's make this extremely topical. In Louisiana right now, there's a hurricane that just blew out the power. I think they said 1 million people don't have power right now. That is a freak of nature event that can hugely impact your business. So do you think that the retail shops are doing a lot of sales right now? Absolutely not. They don't even have the lights on. And then here's where something that you're going to have to battle is this last point of, do you trust your analysts? So this is kind of a meta game that's being played on the personal level of you need to come to the right decision most of the time. Now, I think executives and managers don't expect you to have a perfect track record, but they need to know that you're doing or coming to the right conclusion most of the time. Okay. All right, let's see. Are there any questions? So Davis, I'm going to pull you in because I want to talk to somebody. I'm having a hard time right now. So Davis, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Hanging in there. So I came back from Santa Barbara. I was supposed to come back Saturday. My flight got canceled Saturday, stayed the night. The next flight, the next day, got canceled again. I've been traveling for 48 hours. I'm exhausted right now.
That's a lot of travel.
But so you guys speaking of LinkedIn, and while I was out in Santa Barbara was creating more content for LinkedIn, what did you think of the 2 courses that you guys did this week?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the Power BI. Tableau's a bit foreign to me, other than a little bit with Dr. Asar last year, but my father actually uses Power BI with his company, so it's kind of nice to see it for the first time and to see kind of what he's doing.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is Power BI and Tableau are essentially the exact same. They function the same way. I would say that Power BI is much stronger on the data modeling side. Tableau is much better as a data visualization tool. So that's fantastic. Awesome. All right. So let's see. Man, I'm having a hard time managing the chat and talking to you guys. There's a lot going on here. Let's see. Oh, I just saw a question. Let's see. Oh, this is so Abe is one of our super fans. So he's on like every one of our podcast streams. So why doesn't my SUMIFS formula copy multiple times? Abe, that is a very specific niche question. I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. But I will say this, we're going to be jumping into later on in the stream. I'm going to have, so Davis, you're on your phone, so you can't analyze the data and talks, but I think we've got Devin on the stream who's going to be Devin. Your camera is off. Can you turn it on? Sorry, we did not. Oh, there we go. All right, let's bring Devin in. Hey, how's it going?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
Hanging in there. I mean, this is my first shot at doing live streaming for class, so I'm trying to incorporate the chats from the people watching, and then also focus on you guys. So, Devin, I just want to make sure that you're ready to go for this upcoming segment. Do you have the Excel file pulled up?
I can pull it up really fast.
And then also share that screen within StreamYard.
So for some reason, it only lets me pull it up on Google Sheets.
Oh, weird. Can you download it?
Yeah, I'm gonna see what I can do real fast. But I was trying to play with it for a little bit and see if I can get it on Excel.
All right. So let's see where we at right now. Analytics Skills 101. Okay, so I'm going to let's jump back to the lectures, and hopefully, Devin, we'll get that sorted out so that I want everyone watching to be able to see what we covered in the last class. All right. So I want everyone who's watching this to be able to leave this lecture with an actionable skill set. And people seem to overcomplicate analytics so much. So within Excel, it's super easy for you to uncover insights, and you don't need a lot of technical knowledge. So I want to lay the groundwork so that you have a very simple framework of how you can uncover insights within data. So first, let's talk about the difference between dimensions and measures. Dimensions and measures are two different types of data points. Measures are the hard numbers in your business. So think like sales units, cost of units, margin. This is the quantifiable part of your data set. Then we have dimensions, which give additional context to your measures. So for example, we can look at sales, which is a measure. We can look at sales by state, which is one dimension, or we could look at sales by product or category. Or if we want to get really sophisticated, we could look at sales by state by product category, and then we can get super granular into the data. And this is where we can start to uncover insights and piece out if there are any interesting things going on with the data set. Next, let's talk about aggregation. So if you were going to combine a dimension and a measure, you need to aggregate them, which means that you are looking at one metric as a whole. So you can see we have average rating, this is just a snapshot of some similar feedback data. This isn't the data set we're going to be looking at later, but it's going to be very close. So we have respondent number, gender, age, product number, and then what do you rate this product overall? So one way that we could aggregate this is by taking the average of everyone who looked at the product or experienced the product. Or what we could do is look at the average rating by we see we have our product number or age. And for example, I mean, the insights could be as granular as women between the age of 35 and 44 hate the product. So in that case, we need to take the product back to our design team and maybe spin up a second survey saying, well, what is wrong with this product and why isn't it resonating with this specific demographic? All right, so now we're getting into the juicy tidbits here. And pivot tables and charts, it's the most effective way and the most easiest way for you to uncover insights within Excel. So a pivot table allows you to measure, or it allows you to analyze measures and dimensions and combinations. And the way it does this is you get a drag and drop interface. So you can look at, the aggregation of sales across different states or by different categories. And this is the foundation. So this is kind of like the pre-evolution of Tableau and Power BI. And I wanted to go through this and make sure that everyone who's watching fully understand what's going on within pivot tables. Because I mean, this is a simple tool set that can be worth millions of dollars to you throughout the lifetime of your career. So this is what the interface looks like. So you'd highlight an entire data set, and you can see that I clicked on course name and rating. And we can see, so these are all, this is a preview of actually what's going to be coming up later on in the lecture, is we have all of our specific courses, and we have sum of rating, which, Davis, I'm going to pull you back in. Does this make sense? Does sum of rating make sense? We talked about this briefly last class.
So the sum of rating?
Yeah.
I think I've forgotten.
Okay. So a rating is like a scale of 1 to 5. Would it make sense to add a 5-star rating to a 5-star rating to say you have a 10-star rating?
No.
Right. So okay, am I jogging your memory a little bit here? So do you remember what we talked about last class? So what would be a more appropriate aggregation in that situation?
Are you referring to how like the comments don't reflect the number? Is that what you're trying to?
So like right now we have a sum rating of $367. So the different aggregations, so we could do count, we could do sum, we could do average. Which of those do you think makes more sense?
Oh, okay. Count is what I'd guess.
So interesting. That's not the way that I was thinking, but I think that there's some utility in looking at count. So if you have the count of ratings, what do you think that might be reflective of?
We just see how many of each level, I guess.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So I'm gonna disagree with you here. I think that count could show you that, all right, a lot of people are talking about this one specific product. And then maybe there's some insight within that, like, oh, they're saying they love it or they're saying they hate it. And maybe it's a disproportionate response rate compared to the other courses. But think about like what is another way that we could, okay, let me put it this way. So if you had a 5-star rating and you had a 1-star rating, what do you think, how could we combine those to get kind of a feel for the overall rating of the course? If I stumped you.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I don't know.
Hold on, let's go down to the bottom of the chat, see if anybody. You're gonna get bailed out by the chat here. Can you see the chat? Also, for those of you who are watching, we didn't test run this. I just got back from Santa Barbara and was like, all right, we're gonna go directly into this. All right. So Salman Malik has got the answer there for you.
Okay, I see it. Yeah.
So yeah, so what you would want to do there is average them together. So the 1 and the 5 kind of cancel each other out. So it's like that's a decent course across the spectrum there.
Okay.
All right. So we can see that the way that the pivot tables work is we've got the aggregation and the metric within the values, and then whatever dimension is within the rows. Okay, all right, we are going to cut to a quick commercial break, and then when we get back, I am going to answer some of our viewers' questions. Are you looking for real data to analyze? An actual problem to solve? An experience worth talking about in an interview? Well, in this case study course, you get a real-world problem with a messy data set and a business outcome that's on the line. My name is John David, and I'm the founder of Silvertone Analytics, a boutique consulting agency that focuses on business analytics. I'm also a professor of analytics at Greensboro College. And in 2021, I had the privilege of combining these two worlds. My real-world Greensboro College students got to work with my Silvertone Analytics clientele for the Analytics Minor capstone course at Greensboro College. This case study course is modeled after the lessons, the trials, and the tribulations that my students went through in the Analytics Minor capstone course. My students got to work directly with the president of an organization that is clearing over $150 million in revenue every year. And this case study course keeps the exact same data structures that they worked through in that case study. But I anonymized the data to protect my client's privacy. So are you ready to solve a real-world business use case? Build a killer analytics portfolio, and even learn how to communicate these findings in an interview setting? Well, click the Take This Course button now and join me inside. All right, so we have got a question. Actually, it's more of a statement. So those of you guys who are listening on the chat, start asking questions. So when I go to that commercial break, I'm going to go up through the chat log, because I think we've already got like over 100 questions or comments at this point. So I want some questions from you guys to kind of, shift and make this each live stream unique. So Stony is saying you should also use other measures of center, such as median in addition to average. Stony, I would love to get your thoughts if you're still on the live stream. Can you elaborate on this a little bit more? And I don't know if we're going to be able to get this in real time, but that's interesting because I don't really use median too much in my consulting practice. The distribution of reviews. Okay, I see exactly what you're saying. So if you're having a bunch of 1 stars and a bunch of 5 stars, the average is going to be 3. But I wouldn't say that is an average course. It sounds like one demographic really loves it and another demographic really hates it. So average in that situation can kind of make the data a little bit foggy. So let's see here. I love this. We had so many people chiming in for the answers here. So, man, I am so bad at pronouncing names. So Shahibdul, you got the answer right. So did Pankaj. Let's see. Oh, we got 7 already pulled in your answer. Okay, interesting. So people are talking about, so Natika, thank you for joining in. Always nice to see your face. There are actually some really good jobs out there in India. The thing is, most of it is hidden and you need to communicate and network better. That is an excellent point. In fact, one of the first people to sign up for our learning platform is Deepak, and he lives in Bangladesh. And he took 3 of our courses, built out a portfolio, and he just landed a Tableau job. So it is possible if you guys are tuning in all the way out in India. Durgesh, I wish you luck, but take Natika's advice. I think that's fantastic. All right, so let's get back to it. So let's talk about the project overview, and this is our sandbox that we're going to be playing in. So this week, surprise, students, we are going to be building out email marketing campaigns. And I'm actually going to have my my marketing manager come in, and we're going to be A/B split testing 2 different marketing concepts that you guys are going to come up with. Now, I am going to be investing my money in this, so you guys need to think critically, and you guys need to come up with some really good ideas, because I am not going to hesitate to shoot your ideas down. But this should be fun, and this should be something that you guys can talk about in an interview setting. All right, so I am in the business of education now. I have my consulting agency, but I have shifted my focus, especially over the last, I would say 6 months to a year, to education. I have courses on LinkedIn, Udemy, and I have built my own learning platform over this summer. So I don't want to focus too much on LinkedIn learning, other than the fact that, there's just a huge amount of people who are taking LinkedIn learning courses. So you can see this using Power BI with Excel. There was 140,000 people who've taken that course. What's interesting about this, and it's kind of counterintuitive, is that I have very, very little data about my LinkedIn learning courses. I've heard while I was out in Santa Barbara this last week that they are trying to put together some type of dashboard so that I can see, which courses are doing well. But it's kind of hilarious that, I mean, I've had about 800,000 students and I know nothing about them other than the people who've reached out to me. So this is where it's going to get more interesting. So on Udemy, I have, I think, 5 or 6 courses, but I get a bunch of data. And what the students got to look at last class was I have this Microsoft certified, so it's the Exam DA 100 for Power BI certification course. And what I did was I exported all of the feedback. And you can see that the aggregation here, so the average feedback rating is a 4.27. And I also wanted to talk about, it's interesting from a profit per course. So we're making about $1 per sale. So I actually pulled this right before this lecture started. I had about 511, I've had 500 people sign up for this class. I've made $507 this month on it. So that's an interesting point that we're going to circle back to probably later on in the lecture series of pricing strategy, because my learning platform is priced way different than the Udemy courses. But so I'm hoping Devin has got a way to look at the Excel data. If not, we can go through the exercise. I've got it pulled up right here. So we're going to be analyzing that 4.27 course rating, see if there's any ways that we could potentially improve that. So here's a sneak peek. This is what the data looks like. And I think, yeah, I've taken all of the user names out of it. And if you guys want to rewatch this, those of you who are watching on the live stream, if you want to rewatch this and work through the data, my marketing team is working on getting a link so I can put it in the description. If you want to work through this data set or this exercise sooner, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn and I can send you the raw data source. All right, so Silvertone Analytics is the learning platform that I developed over really just this summer. And we have a treasure trove of data that we can work with. So we're starting out the semester strong with, we're doing email marketing data. So I'm going to, in the in-person class on Thursday, we're going to review this and see what campaigns are working, what are the KPIs involved with marketing analytics. And then I'm going to have one of the students present. Actually, we'll see how this goes, but I think the idea for the next live stream is to have each group. So I'm going to break the students into 2 groups. I'm going to have one person present, their understanding of marketing analytics and then their strategy to optimize the KPIs and why that's going to work in the next live stream. Then we also have sales data from WooCommerce. We have Google Analytics website data. And actually with these 2 data points, there is a data quality error. So for whatever reason, the sales that are occurring on WooCommerce, only 2/3 of them are showing up on the Google Analytics website data. So that is a prime example of, whoops, this data is wrong. And if I were to look at just the Google Analytics data, I might come to the wrong conclusion about what I should be doing with my marketing data. Then we have Google Ads data, and we have our student feedback data. So this is a much more robust survey that I personally created than the Udemy. So Udemy, it's comment, rating, and those are the only 2 things that they collect. But if you've taken one of my courses, you know that I ask, what's your age? Where do you live? What do you feel about the overall chapter so far? Rate it from 1 to 10 on quality of lectures, quality of content, effectiveness. I mean, you can get super in depth with the feedback data. All right, so let's talk about a real world use case. So I love that. This is so fun for me. So this literally happened yesterday. I had a meeting with Ryan Forrest, who's my marketing manager. And I just took a screenshot of, here's the little mini dashboard I get within Google Ads. So we can see that I've got almost 2,000 impressions, 136 views. I've spent $60, which, by the way, we're spending just a little bit of money to get our feelers out on the market of, who's clicking on this, what are the ad placements, and then just kind of optimizing it before we flood a bunch of money into it. All right, so now I am going to put my money where my mouth is and show you that I am practicing what I'm professing here. So this is a real world use case that's happening in real time. as of yesterday. So in one decision, I 10x the amount of clicks I got on one of my ad campaigns. So we're making assumptions, and this is what's interesting and a challenge, I would say, for a lot of professors, is that they talk secondhand about people who are in business or making business decisions. We're totally breaking down that wall in this course, and that I am putting money behind the insights that I am finding. I'm not analyzing someone who's already made the decision and then it's after the fact. This is in real time. So I made one decision that 10x the amount of clicks that I got. We're currently testing ad placements. So this first test is we're focusing on my friends' YouTube channels. So we have Alex the Analysts, Luke Barros, we have Analyze with Ali, which, by the way, Ali is an analytics manager in Oslo, Norway, and he's going to be coming on in 2 weeks to come talk to you guys about Power BI. So you got something to look forward to there. And what we did was we put an ad in front of their video. So it plays for 5 seconds, and then that little box appears that says you can skip this ad now. So what we were doing is we're testing ads in our friends' channels. And the caveat here is that we focus just on the American market. The average cost per click was $10, which is astronomically high. But we pivoted the strategy. I mean, we're doing like weekly sprints at this point because it's so new. $10 was way too high, so we pivoted the strategy and made one small critique. So instead of just focusing on the American market, we decided to open it up to the global market, and that just drove the cost per click just precipitously down to just $1. So what's interesting there is the assumption we made was that the international market probably is not going to be able to afford our courses. But as we launched within our beta over the summer, 2 of the first 5 sales, one was from Nigeria and the other one was from Bangladesh. So we kind of had that assumption just completely just torn down. And now we're like, all right, well, I guess we can try selling internationally. And now you can see this specific chart with the additional context. So we can see that right here, I mean, it's doing okay, but bam, does it. Actually, it wasn't doing okay. It was doing terrible. But this is literally day 4 of a new ad campaign. All right. So let's see. Let's pull Devin back in. Hey. So, why can I? Oh, here we go. So is it still not working?
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
No.
Can anyone hear me? Weird. Hey, Davis, can you hear me?
No.
Weird. Okay, this is promising. So the chat can. Let's see who else is on. William, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Weird. Okay. So that throws a monkey wrench. William, do you have the Excel file on your computer?
I don't think I do.
Okay. Can you download it from that email that I sent last week or 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to find it.
Okay. Actually, anyone else in the chat, do you guys have it on? Oh, here we go. I can't. Okay, everyone can hear me. Does anyone have the Excel file downloaded on their computer of the students who are on in the live studio? Message me in the private chat. wonder if it's an internet thing. Oh, okay. Davis does have it, but he's on his phone. William, you have any luck getting that file looking? I know we're completely putting things on the spot. How about this? Let's cut to another commercial break, and then we'll come back and see if any of the students can have gotten the Excel file downloaded. Sorry, I know this is kind of running off the rails here a little bit. In this case study course, you're going to learn 3 things. Number 1, you're going to improve your business acumen. This means that you're going to learn about how business works. Then we're going to move into the second point, which is analytics hard skills. So once we understand how the business works, we're then going to use some business intelligence tools, specifically Tableau, to solve the business problem and uncover insights. And then the third point, which is very, very important, are the soft skills. And the whole last chapter is dedicated to how you can more effectively explain your findings and also talk about past projects in an interview setting. To be a little bit more specific, you're going to be calculating the return on investment of 2 different marketing channels. So we're going to be looking at our Amazon and our Facebook ad spend. And there are 3 different data sources. So our first data source is our cost data source. And this is where we can see all of the ad spend, and it's in one data source. Then there is a sales data source for Facebook and a sales data source for Amazon. The challenge is that we're going to have to combine all 3 of these data sources together and then isolate our spending data and associate it with the relevant sales data source. By the end of the project, you're going to figure out which of these has the highest return on investment. But you're also going to have a challenge where you're going to visualize the data and see if there are any insightful trends that you could communicate to our end client. So if you're up for a challenge, then sign up and let's get started. All right, so we are running into some technical difficulty here, but all right, so I'm going to be pivoting the strategy here. So let's see. I'm going to show you the data quality error that's missing within our data sources. So let me pull in. So this is a peek at our WooCommerce data. So this is the back end of our website where we have, so it's somewhat sophisticated. And I've learned a bunch over the past 3 months about WordPress and integrations. So we have Learn-LMS, which is the learning management system. And then within that is embedded WooCommerce. So what we're looking at is the reports pane. And we can see that over the last, I think it's 4 months, we've had $1,600 in sales, which doesn't seem like much, but people, essentially our super fans, are paying us money to debug our own platform. So I see that as a huge win. What's interesting though is that we take a look at, we have $1,600 in sales, but if we come over here to our Google Analytics account, we can see over that same time period, it's only $1,000. So this is an example of a real world data quality error. And these kind of errors happen all the time. I'm not super upset about it, but I've recognized it and I have my development team actively figuring out what's going on. I believe the issue is that we have to, let's see if Ryan is on, is we have to do this thing called cart flows. And I think that when we duplicated one for each of the courses here, and I think that is wherein lies the issue. So real world example of why data quality issues occur. And then we can also take a look at our marketing data. So here is out in the wild, the back end of my Google Ads account, and I can click around and add things in. So let's walk through the data here. So what we're doing is we are playing 2 testimonial videos in front of other people's YouTube channels. Let's see. Oh, see some private chats. Okay. Well, I can't. All right, we need to troubleshoot this next time. So when I'm in class Thursday, we're gonna get this set up so that we're not gonna have this issue of so one student has the data but doesn't have a camera. Actually, Davis, you know what you could do is log onto your computer where it doesn't have a webcam, and we can just have your voice, and then you can analyze the data in Excel. Does that work? Oh wait, let me pull you in. Sorry. No, William's still in here. Davis, does that work for you?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. So what happens in the live stream studio is I can add you or remove you from the live stream. So I asked you the question before I added you in, so that's why I couldn't hear you just now.
Okay.
So yeah, feel free. I'm going to continue to cover the Google Ads strategy. So and that'll give you some time to get set up, so we don't have just some dead air.
Okay, and what would you like me to do here?
So we're going to walk through how to create a pivot chart.
Okay.
Awesome. So yeah, just get set up on that computer with no web camera, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah, it's all pulled up and ready whenever you are.
Wait, I don't. Okay, so can you sign off of your camera or your phone and then log in to the live stream studio from your computer?
Oh, okay. Alrighty.
Awesome. All right, I'll give you a few seconds to do that. I like this full screen instead of having me in the corner there. So what we're doing is we're playing two different testimonial videos, one for the marketing, one for the sales course. We can see them here, and we can see that these are the placements. So we have Alex the Analyst, who is probably the biggest player in the analytics education YouTube space. Then Luke. Then we have Kenji and the Career Force. So what's interesting is everybody's been on the podcast except for this Career Force lady. So maybe we need to get working on that and get her pulled in. Let's see, I'm seeing some comments coming up. Is the screen still blank? Can you guys hear me? Uh-oh, did my internet go out? Okay. So Drewpat, I'm going to be doing my Tuesday classes this way. And then my in-person classes, the students are going to get to work with the data. So this will be a cool way of them getting an opportunity to present the findings that they have. Okay, weird. It's weird that like people are having all these tech issues. But let's see. All right, Davis, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, will you share your screen?
Okay, I'm assuming it's this little share button.
Yeah, so it's right there. It says Leave Studio Invite Share, right down at the bottom.
Okay, should I hit share audio or how does this work?
You don't have to share audio.
Okay. Let's see, I should do entire screen.
Yeah.
It's not letting me hit share.
Weird.
I can hit cancel, but I cannot hit.
Here, hit cancel and then try it again. So here, so I've got it pulled up here. And what's interesting, so I built off the analysis that we did. It actually wasn't last week, it was the week before last in class.
Here we go.
Here we go. Now I see it. Sweet. All right, cool. Now for the good stuff. Here we go. All right. So, Davis, do you remember what we talked about? You know, I keep saying last week, but I was in Santa Barbara all last week recording 2 weeks ago. Do you remember? How about you give those who are watching the live stream some context of what is this data source?
This is the reviews people were giving about the program, and it was a rating from, I'm guessing 0. It was a 0 to 5 or 1 to 5, and then some were leaving some comments.
From 1 to 5.
1 to
Right.
5, and then some were
Mhm.
leaving some comments. Obviously, as you can see, there's not comments everywhere. So, but we were trying to decide kind of how to, because you can't take a comment and sort of match it up with the number. It's a little bit, there's some ambiguity there. So we were trying to see how we could make it, see it visually a little better.
Awesome. So what do we do? So Davis, analyze this. Show me something interesting.
So last week we had talked about basically the thing that I took from it most was that that we could learn the most from a certain rating. So sort of ignoring the really high ratings and ignoring the really low ratings, because what's high is good and what's low might, they may not be giving a real good review, or maybe there was some problem somewhere. So from this is, I think what you're trying to ask me is that we concluded that we wanted to see what the 3 to, or maybe 2.5 to 4s were saying.
Interesting. Okay. So was it you or was it William who brought up that comment? I thought it was William who said
It was
raised that question. So that is an interesting thought, and that's kind of like so there are assumptions that you have to make about what's going out in the real world, and that was an interesting conversational thread around. All right, so the people who are ranting and the people who are raving about it, their opinions kind of don't matter in the scheme of things, unless people are only ranting or people are only raving about it. So like in most situations, there are people who are like very opinionated one way or the other, and they kind of cancel each other out. But in this situation, let's just assume, because we don't really have too many data points. So it would be nice if we had age and gender and maybe location to get even more granular with it. So what we're going to have to do is just aggregate the data. And I want you to answer this question for me. So which of our courses are above a 4.4 star review on average? So a 4.4 star review that's kind of the threshold of like a great course versus a mediocre course. So let's see which ones are within that threshold. Do you remember how to do a pivot chart or a pivot table?
I don't think I remember exactly how we did it.
Okay, so you've got everything. There you go.
But I just forget how we filtered it.
Okay, so do you understand the way that pivot tables work?
A little bit. I haven't worked with them really much at all.
All right, so let me give you an overview. So the pivot table, so you're looking at, essentially that's the user interface right there. All you have to do is click and drag those items around. So we have the box that it says filter, it says column, row, and values. Let's focus on that values box first. What is the metric or the value that we want to analyze here?
I guess the rating.
Right. And then let's incorporate that dimension. What's the dimension that we want to analyze?
The course.
Right. I was about to say there's not very many dimensions for us to choose from. So bring it down to, it's not a filter. I mean, we could do a filter, but that would be looking at one. We want all of the courses to be able to be seen. So
I'm guessing rows.
Yeah. So bam, there you go. So now what we're looking at is, we're looking at the sum of rating, which we talked about this earlier on in the lecture. What's the problem with summing ratings together?
It doesn't reflect the input that they're giving.
Right. Because see, and this is a tricky, nuanced point, because within a rating, so like a 1 to 5, it is a number, but the way that you look at it from the type of data is it's a string. So it's you don't have a actual value that you can add together. But what is important is that it could be, instead of a 1 through 3 rating, it could be a 1 is bad, a 2 is okay, and a 3 is great. So it's more about the rank order of it rather than the actual value that is depicted by it quantitatively. Did I make that more complex, or do you understand what I'm saying when I say that?
I think.
Okay. So basically you don't want to add up your ratings.
Right.
Remember what the aggregation is?
The average is what you want.
Right. And you started to do it down at so you have to hit that drop down menus and values. There you go. Awesome. So tell me which ones are above a 4.4. It's super tiny on my screen right here.
Maybe I can.
There we go. Perfect.
So visually sales trends with Tableau is above 4.4. Breakout of Excel into Tableau in 90 minutes and Power BI.
Okay. Perfect. All right. So now I'm going to throw you a curveball. I want you to show me how the ratings change over time. And this is tricky.
Let's see.
So go back to the original data source. So do you see? Tell me what are the?
I'm guessing
columns.
this that's maybe like a scatter of some sort.
No, so we're going to keep it as a pivot instead of a table. We're going to do a chart this time, but we're going to have to manipulate the data source. So tell me which ones, and let's just for simplicity's sake, let's just say how have the ratings changed over the years. So tell me which of those data points relates to dates.
I guess the timestamp.
Right. So all right, go back to that pivot chart and see if that.
This one.
Yeah. So I'm curious if people in the chat are going to be like, John David, you're doing this terribly wrong. But I did it my own way of just isolating the year. Well, in my example, I isolated the month, but I did it super convolutedly through. So have you ever heard of the left or right function within Excel?
Yeah, a little bit.
So what happens if you drag in the timestamp into rows? So now you have it aggregated on, it's actually by the hour, I believe, right?
Yeah, it looks like it is.
So it's way too specific. So we got Matt Bratton here. Matt, I'm so sad. So Matt lives in Fresno, and he's an analytics manager. We were going to have him come in and do like a mock interview course, but unfortunately I ran out of time while I was out in studio. I did over 100 lectures within 4 days, so it was insane. But Matt is an Excel whiz. So if you guys are watching this, also students, feel free to check out his YouTube channel. And I think Matt's going to be coming on sometime later this semester, probably during the interview section, because I want him to grill you guys in some interview questions and give you some constructive feedback. All right, so back to the case at hand. So we can use because you see that the year is on the left. What we can do is modify the underlying data source and just isolate the year. Do you know how to do that?
I do not know.
All right, so go back to the main sheet. What's funny is I had to look this up because I never do this. So all right, so to the right of comment, type in year. So that's going to be our column header, and then hit equals left, and then parentheses that the next the timestamp column. And then comma 4, and then close it. You see what we did there? So now we've isolated just the year of the timestamp column. So hit that bad boy down. So now we have created a year column. So now what we can do is go ahead and create a new, instead of a pivot table, a pivot chart. So select all of the cells again.
Like all of these.
There we go. Yeah. So then it's insert and then pivot tables to the left, go to the right. You'll see pivot chart kind of in the middle. Nope. Further to the right. Further. Oh, there we go. So insert the pivot chart. There we go. All right. So now we have got, well, I don't think we covered pivot charts 2 weeks ago.
No, I don't think so either. I think this is a little new.
Okay. So I'm not going to hold your hand here. I want you to at least take a stab at figuring it out. Because you've got kind of the kernel of the idea, but I want to see you problem solve this in real time. Okay. Oh, you got to click back on it. All right. So the value is the sum of rating. Is that correct? So there, yeah. Let's change it to the average first. All right. So you have timestamp. Is timestamp the what we should be using? Why do we spend all that time creating a year column?
Right. Let's see. We were looking at the course name. Yeah.
Okay, so you're wrong, but you're also, this is interesting. So now instead of just looking at the course in hard numbers like the rating, now we can see the relationship because a bar chart is great at doing that. So you're technically wrong in this situation of where you should put the courses. Actually, let's pivot and not even put in the course names right now. Let's just look at the ratings over time.
Okay.
All right. Interesting. So interpret this for me a little bit. Like, what's going on? What are you seeing within the data?
I'm seeing it got good in 2020, and it took a pretty big fall after that.
Right. So what do you think that why do you think that might be the case?
I hate to blame it on current economic standings, but maybe that's it. I don't know.
Could be me. I could just be getting worse. You think you get better the more you do it, but I don't know. Maybe I'm like, I'm getting too old my age. So I think what happened, and actually, hold on. So let me take a look. So keep theorizing. Like what? So you're saying okay, elaborate on that point. Why would economic conditions change the way they feel about my course?
Maybe not the way they feel about it, but maybe they
actually like their attitudes have changed.
Yeah, maybe maybe I guess like you said, their attitudes, their patience, their cabin fever, if you will. I don't know. There could be an overall something there, but maybe less significant than maybe something along the lines of the course. I mean, have you made changes to the course? I'm not sure.
So bingo, there you go. So that might be a factor. So let me talk about this in terms of like the levers that I can pull. So the in metric is the rating. What can I do to change that rating? So
change which rating?
So the data source is people take the course and then like lecture 7, they're asked, what would you rate this course on a scale of 1 to 5?
Right.
So what can I do to influence their feelings about my course?
You could add a tidbit at the end that says, you appreciate their honest review and to maybe take time on it or try to brief them on the importance of giving a review. And it's not just, you don't just put something to put something or something of that nature.
All right, I'll give you credit for it. So what I can do to change this is to make the courses better or worse. But also there's one thing that happened out on the marketplace. The Power BI was updated. Like there was a new version and the course was not updated with it.
Oh, okay.
So, but also I don't mean to be rude. You're doing an amazing job. And I like seeing your critical thinking ability. So don't feel like I'm being like overly harsh on you. I'm just trying to be conversational. But yeah, so you're right. Like I could add in something to say, hey, give me, the reviews are important to me. It'd be nice if you could leave a review for me. And maybe that could give me sympathy, or I could go in and update the lectures with the new platform, which this course is 7.5 hours. And let's talk about the margin I'm getting. I'm making $1 per sale. So I don't know if it's like doing a return on investment calculation for my time. It's not worth my time to go in and revamp the entire course. So that's where we're at right there. All right. What's interesting is we have some people tuning in on the chat here. So is it, I want to call you Salmon, but I know that's not how you pronounce that name. Salmon. So Salmon like posited an interesting theory. We're only halfway through 2021. And then Matt Bratton actually demolished that theory. So yeah, the theory of it being a partial year, that would affect if it were sales and we were summing everything up. But if we're doing average, that's not going to be the case, because the average it's going to account for, those highs and those lows. Matt brings up an interesting point of, did I also give anything away for free? So kind of paradoxically, the more stuff you give away for free, the lower your rating is going to be, because I think the psychology behind it is that people don't value things that you give away for free. Like if you pay and you pay high, you're going to respect that person. It's so interesting seeing how psychology plays into business. And we're going to get into that a whole lot in the upcoming lectures when we talk about pricing strategy, because just to give you kind of a quick run through. So LinkedIn, I'm making less than $1 per person taking my course. I wish I was making a whole $1 and I got $800,000, but I haven't made that much from them. Then I'm making roughly $1, maybe $2 to $3 per sale on Udemy. The platform, it's $200 is the lowest price. Then it goes all the way up to $3,000. So what's interesting about that is that we are going to be looking at the buyer psychology behind it. So Matt, I love that you brought up giving away the course for free, because that I have seen that. I've seen that on Udemy. Like you give away 200 free courses and then they give you terrible reviews, and it's because they don't value you. I could just nerd out on this all day long. Okay. So Davis, let's take this one step further. So tell me, what is this chart? What is this chart showing us right now?
The average rating for, year by year.
The average rating of what, though?
Of the courses above 4 point. Oh, actually. Well,
Yeah.
I thought we were looking at above 4, or I guess below 4.4. Or maybe I just have got it confused now.
Okay. So explain it again. What are you confused about?
Let's see. We're looking at the average rating of, is this all the courses? I forgot which. We're looking at everything here on the sheet too.
This is your work. You tell me.
Yeah, I think it's all the courses. We're looking at the average rating of all the courses year over year. And we're seeing that in 2019, we had an average of 4.3, and then in 2020 it went up, and in 2021 it went back down. Due to what you said, the updates and the lack to keep up, the lack of effort to keep up.
Hey, are you calling me lazy?
I'm just giving it back.
No, it's strategic laziness. Like I could I spent like 100 hours building out that course during the lockdown, and man, people have been brutal in the reviews. They've been so rude. Which, you know what? I'm kind of ready to get out of because essentially what people see on Udemy is the hard skills is a commodity. So they're willing to pay like essentially everything on Udemy is you can get for $10. They're willing to get $10 to learn something very specific. Where we're positioning the platform is let us train you on the hard skills, the soft skills, and the business acumen so that you can make $10,000 or more per year. So that is the market we're looking to be in. And we've already got a use case with Molly Welsh, who came in, and we helped her, completely rebrand herself in a 3-month period, and now is making $10,000 more per year as she's pivoted into an entry-level data science role. So this is interesting just from a buyer persona standpoint. So all right, so let's jump back into the frame of we want to improve the Udemy courses, which in reality I'm kind of like maybe. What can we do to isolate each individual course? So can we look at the review by year by course? So now what we're doing is we have one metric and 2 dimensions in that situation.
Should we throw it into filters, or should we?
Okay, well, I mean, let's just do things, and then we're going to improvise and start to figure out, all right, what happened here?
I'm going to say a whole lot of nothing.
No. So things did happen. So, all right. So you clicked on, click on it.
What?
Click on, okay. So that's the Spanish version of the course. So click on that. Do you see what happened here?
Well, I guess it's showing us the average for this particular course, or did it exclude?
Exactly. So now what you've done, and this is the nature of learning analytics, in my opinion. You go down all these little rabbit holes and you try things out and you make mistakes. So I asked you a specific question of how can we incorporate a third dimension? And instead of incorporating that into the visualization, what you did inadvertently is you created some user experience. So if you were to create what you could do in this situation, create this dashboard, add the ability to filter, send it out to your manager, then your manager can start answering his own questions, which this gets into kind of your efficiency as an analyst. So what you could do is build a whole system that allows the manager, instead of sending an email, you having to analyze the data, then maybe ask some clarifying questions and then get back. You can send him essentially like a little data app within Excel and say, here's how you analyze. I understand how you analyze the data. Here's the filters. If you want to know a specific question about a specific course, all you have to do is hit on this drop-down menu. And yeah, so let's figure out which ones. Okay, now we got one. It's going down in time. And Davis, keep me honest here. Why do you think that is? What course is that?
You're saying this is okay. If I'm seeing this clearly, this is saying for the breakout of Excel into Tableau in 90 minutes, we're getting a decline from 2019 to 21.
Right. So now we're starting. Now you're putting on your analyzing cap. Why is that?
Because you didn't go in there and update it.
You're right. Because it's like, not to brag or anything, but I'm just making a lot more money elsewhere. So
right.
It's kind of a scarcity thing of like, I only have 24 hours in a day, just like everyone else. How am I going to deploy my time in a way that, pushes my brand forward and also, to be frank, makes me money. So I love that we're kind of getting into this like exploratory. Did I make sense? Also, why is everyone talking in Spanish? Mentiroso, isn't that ugly? And then Al. So Albert's our social media manager. Yes, where the library is. All right. Sorry, side tangent there. I'm going to stay focused here. All right. So Davis, do you understand the value of what you did with the filtering?
Yeah, you're getting to sort of see each individual course and what it's done over the years,
Right.
as opposed to all of them collectively.
Right. So, okay. So we're going down this rabbit hole where, okay, we've got this pivot chart interface. What can we do? There's only 4 boxes we can modify. Which one haven't we used yet?
Legends, is that what you're referring to?
Yes. What do you think that might do?
Give us an idea of what's going on the chart, but we kind of already have one, right? I mean, total. Let's see. Which one should we put? I mean, maybe comments. I don't know. I don't know. See what happened there. Maybe not.
Wait, I'm kind of curious. Why are you married to having the course name as a filter? Should that be a filter?
I don't know that I'm married to it. Maybe let's divorce.
Ah, here we go. So now we're getting into some visual analytics 101. So what we have is we have one measure, which is the rating, and we have 2 dimensions. So that, like, essentially we have a 3-dimensional visualization here. So we're looking at rating across time and then across different courses. So, and this is, I'm going to give you this one. It's going to be a freebie. The best way to visualize time series data is through a line chart.
Okay. So
just right click on the chart and then change chart type.
And this is first one.
Yeah, any ones you want. You tell me. You're guiding the lecture here. You're in the driver's seat. I'm literally just I'm like in the side here, trying to guide you along the way.
We'll go with this one. Okay, how do we get rid of that blank? Well, that just looks like you did good.
I like this. This is the chart that we need to keep here.
Yeah, this is how you bend the data for your advantage.
Right. I'm writing a sequel to How to Lie with Statistics.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. I'm curious why that's. Oh, actually, you know what? Would that be right? No, I don't think that's right. Chat, what do you think's going on here? We need some help. I need you to help us bail Davis out of the situation. I think you can. Okay, can you just duplicate this pivot chart? Just so right click on sheet 2. I think you can just duplicate that, right? Make a copy. Or we could just highlight it again and do a second. I just want to. Well, I guess we can do all the exploration within this. We're working with Barry. So typically, when I'm like, going on tangents and exploring the data, I like to do the exploratory analysis separate from like kind of the main sandbox I'm playing in, and then if it works, incorporate that in. But okay. So what's interesting here is that a lot of these courses, oh, you know what? Why does it say 25?
Where are you seeing that?
Look at the legend. Hold on, let me see if is that doing that on mine too. Okay. Course name, month. Yeah. Okay. It looks like we've got an aggregation issue.
I'm not sure I understand the left column or the
right. So that in theory should be between 1 and 5.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're looking at average rating by year, course, and then looking at the course name. Interesting. So wait, here, let's look at your pivot table where it has the actual specific numbers. See up the top. Yeah, right up there. Yeah, there we go. So click on that and then go. Weird. All right. Chat, are you guys seeing something I'm not seeing? So that's the total. Why is there 3? It's 3 years. So we got 3 years of data. What? Okay, let's see what we got. Nora bailing us out here. Why the column scale changed? We can drag the course name under the year and see if what will happen. Let's see. Yeah, let's test that theory out. Okay, what happened here?
It's giving us all of it's giving us 4 of them. I guess you only had some of these don't span all years.
Right.
So I guess, yeah, this is decent. It's giving you the courses that you had in 2019 and their average. But it's kind of weird. I guess when you're looking at like the very first one, breakout of I guess that's Excel or Power BI in 90 minutes or something like that. It's giving you the average right above it, and then the average of the next one.
That's weird. That doesn't make sense to me. It's too much. There shouldn't be just one line. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There needs to be multiple ways that we're analyzing this data. Okay. So here, bring it back up to label the course names. All right. So I'm going to bump you for a second. This is what mine looks like. Now, I don't know why that. So what's going on here is I did it kind of a hilarious way, but I wanted to incorporate multiple. So what I did in this situation was I took the timestamp, isolated just the date, then I isolated the date and month, then I isolated just the month number. Then what I did was a month lookup, and then 0 through 12, and then the corresponding acronym. So then did a VLOOKUP. So that's super. It's a super complex way of doing it, but I just kind of wanted to show you guys, you can incorporate multiple data sources within Excel using a VLOOKUP function, and then also how to manipulate the data. This is probably not how I would do this. I would probably take some time to research how to change aggregation within pivot chart. But so we have the course name, we have average rating, and we have month. Is that what yours looks like, except for month it has year?
Let's see. Month, average rating, course name. Yes. That is just year.
All right, let's see what's going on. Average of rating. Average. That's weird. So year, remove the blank, see what happens. I don't know what's going on in this situation. So here, I think that the chart type is fine. Let's see what's going on. Hit the drop-down menu for values. Oh, actually, maybe not.
Change the chart type. Now we have this whole new thing we got here.
You fixed it. It's ugly, but you fixed it. This is correct.
Yeah, this is weird though.
Why?
So wait a minute. Why 0?
Think about it.
Oh, there's no course then.
Right. So it was created in 2021. So the ratings are 0. I'm wondering if there's a way that you can just
exclude
yeah. You just have it as a point. I don't really do much visualization within Excel, so I don't think it's a wise use of time to like research like how to make this pretty. Because what we can do is just bring this into Tableau and make it glorious with just a few clicks of a mouse, or Power BI for that example. Like the visualization capabilities is just much stronger within those two interfaces. So okay, awesome. So Davis, you've done a fantastic job today. This has been really cool. So like what you've done is essentially what you'll do if you choose to become a full-time analyst once you graduate. Like it's essentially applied problem solving. And you have to think and you have to make assumptions, and then you have to validate those assumptions with data. And I mean, personally, I think it's fun. It's almost like a real live video game or something for me. So sure. I really enjoy it. But awesome. You have any more questions? Also, rest of the class, do you guys have any questions? It's funny, everyone's got their camera turned off. We need to get, all right, when we have in-person class on Thursday, we're gonna lay some more ground rules here. But this has been fantastic. Davis, thank you so much for being such a good sport. I mean, sure. I feel like you learned, well, let's recap. Did you learn anything today?
Yeah, you definitely helped me with the, I'd say the pivot charts and just in the pivot table as well. Just kind of organizing your independence, your dependence, and your legends and everything.
Sweet. Yeah, I was about to say. So Cyanum has a comment here. So you're the Sherlock Holmes of the episode today. True MVP. And then, so Gerson's saying pivot charts for the win. Yeah, and I thought this was an excellent place for us to start out with pivot charts, because they're just, oh wow, look at that. They're very, very simple. All you have to do is highlight the data, insert it, and then it's point and click, and you can find insights within your data. So congratulations there. You got it figured out. All right. It doesn't look like we have any chats left in the any questions left in the chat. So let's go ahead. I'm going to play one last commercial, and then we're going to call it our first ever live streamed episode. And we've got 7 minutes before our class ends, so I'm not letting you guys out too terribly early.
Hi, I'm Daniel Hall, Dean of the Phillips School of Business at High Point University. I really enjoyed the Marketing Analytics case study for 3 reasons. I got to work with real data, and I got to hear from industry experts and got to learn more about the domain knowledge behind the case study. And finally, I got to participate in the community through the LinkedIn challenges and the Discord server.
All right, so one last announcement to make. Here we go. Now, that was weird looking. All right, so what we're going to be doing on our Thursday classes is I'm going to have the students write a LinkedIn post about all they learned within the previous week's episode, maybe do some screenshots. But this is an effective way of getting your brand out there on LinkedIn. So if you guys are watching in watching this live or in the replay, feel free to tag me in a LinkedIn post and talk about the specific lessons that you gleaned from this episode. So I think that wraps up a first episode ever doing a live stream. And I thank you guys so much, both to you students who were good sports, and Davis, especially you, for coming in and being a little bit vulnerable and having people, critique what you're doing live. And then also thanks for all the comments on the live stream. I'll see you guys later.
See ya.